to Wisdom with Grace Yoga. My name is Sophie and I am your manifesting yogini, and today we're going to manifest adaptable wrist for our yoga practice. So wrist pain is pretty common in yoga practice, especially if you're just starting out. However, if you are under doctor's orders not to use your wrist or bear weight on your wrist, or for some reason you have a pretty bad injury to your wrist, the first thing I would recommend is to not wear any weight on your wrists at all. A modification you can do is to come to your forearms. So pretty much there's two postures that you see in most yoga classes that are going to bring weight onto your wrist, and that's plank and down dog. And you absolutely can do both of those postures on your forearms, coming into plank on your forearms, and then you can come into dolphin on your forearms. You can even come into side plank on your forearm. So that is just to get that out of the way if you have any major injuries or the pain is really intolerable on your wrists. But let's say it is not a wrist injury and just a wrist discomfort, and that's really common in yoga because especially when you're first starting out, we're not familiar with the sensation of bearing weight on our hands in full flexion.
I meant to say extension, not flexion.
So this can be pretty intense if it's not something you're practicing on a regular basis. If you don't do any sort of calisthenics or yoga where you're bearing weight with wrist and flexion, it can be intense sensation. The practice of yoga, of course, all these sensations we feel in yoga lessen the more with consistent practice. And it doesn't necessarily mean the sensation goes away, but our perception of the sensation can change. So I still feel something when I'm bearing weight on my wrist, but it doesn't feel like pain or discomfort to me. It just feels like I'm bearing weight on my wrist, and it's a familiar feeling that I'm used to, and it doesn't associate with me as pain. So if you are first starting out, what I do recommend for that is to take the flexion out of the hands, and there's a few ways you can do that. One little easy way, if you don't have any props, is to simply roll your mat up a few times and bringing your hands right on top of the mat. So that way we're adding some elevation, so our wrists are no longer in flexion.
Again, I meant extension, not flexion. Anatomy lesson.
You can also grab a couple blocks and bringing your hands to the edge of the blocks, wrapping the fingers around. And the reason for that is the other thing is when our fingers are pointed straight, our hands are more in flexion, and when we turn them out, it takes some of the flexion out. It's a little easier on our wrists. So the other thing you can try is turning your fingers out. The next thing to note is taking the weight out of the posture. So we can't change the weight of our bodies instantaneously. Maybe if we get really good at manifesting, we can. But we can use our muscle engagement to lighten the load of the posture. So you want to think tight is light, and for plank, tight is light. So putting more strength into the legs, engaging the glutes, pressing the heels energetically back is all going to help. The tighter your physical body is, it's all going to help take the weight out. Also notice where your head is. If your head is dripped down here in plank, that's going to add more weight. So lifting the head up, gaze lifts. The next place we want to think tight is light is in our hands. So we want Hasta Bandha in our hands. So when we're feeling pain in our wrists, it's not necessarily because our wrists are weak, it's because our forearms are not engaged. And how we engage our forearms is with our hands. So you might hear me in classes a lot saying, spread your fingers wide, grip the mat with your fingertips. That is my cue for Hasta Bandha. And what that does, you can see if you want to bring your thumb and first finger and hold your forearm really tight. Bring your hand to the floor onto your fingertips and just relax your hand here and holding your forearm tight. Now we're going to bring all the fingertips in towards each other like we're a claw trying to pick something up. And see, you'll notice your forearm starts to engage. Now imagine there's a straw in the center of your hand. We're going to suck the air up. So that is what Hasta Bandha is, except we're doing that with the hand flat on the earth and gripping the mat with the fingertips. So we engage the forearms. And again, consistent practice, you're gonna get really strong forearms, and you're gonna and that's going to take a lot of the weight out of the wrist joint. Another way to take weight out of the wrist, the other posture that we are on our wrist a lot, are down dog. Oh, and I forgot to mention in plank, say you're here, you're engaging everything and everything still feels like too much, simply drop the knees. That can also take weight off the wrists. So for down dog, we want to think of pressing the hips as far back, and we can do that by bending through the knees. So lifting the hips high, pressing the hips back. So we're in this inverted V shape. What a lot of times what happens is we dump our weight forward into the shoulders, so we're not taking any weight off the wrists. And then we come into plank, and we've already been pretty much in sort of a weird, odd-looking plank position for 5 breaths in our down dog, and then we're supposed to hold plank again. That's adding a lot of excess weight into the wrist. So really pressing your hips back. You can even grab a partner to push your hips back while you're in this posture to feel the weight lifting out of your hands. So I hope that helps you understand the wrists better. I'm a proponent in consistent practice as a way yoga is going to help you with yoga. However, if you want to strengthen your wrist without consistent practice, here's an exercise that you can do to strengthen the wrists, and I'll show you that now. So bringing your hands to the floor, shoulders are stacked right over the wrist, and you're going to have a tendency to want to come back when you do this, but try to keep the shoulders stacked over your wrists and lifting the palms, keeping the fingers rooted to the earth, and then keeping the shoulders over the wrist. We're in a slow motion, lower all the way down. So you can keep doing this over and over. It's a great exercise while you're waiting for your class to start. And there's also wrist stretches you can do. So this is a good one. Bringing the palm forward, taking each finger, rolling out the wrist joint. There's another one. Bringing your hands into gorilla hands, doing one of those. Fingertips towards you, leaning back, one of those things. Then you can always do gorilla pose, bringing the hands underneath the feet, walking the toes towards the wrists. So all of those are great to help with the wrists. Let's say your forearms are a little tight. Here's a nice stretch for the forearms. So bringing your hands to the side, we're gonna make fists and then draw the fist in, and from here, bend the elbows and give yourself, like you're showing off your biceps, bring your hands in, and I don't even feel this one anymore, but you might. And release. Another one is to just bring your palms, wrist to your hips, palms, fingers facing up. And my favorite one is to come to a wall And I will move the camera around for this one because I want to show a close-up of what I'm doing.
So for this wrist stretch, you come to the wall, bring your hand to the wall, and then turn your hand fingertips down. And from here, we're going to twist open to the right. So I feel this right through my hand and my forearm. You might feel it in your shoulders. And then you can do the other side, bringing the hand to the wall, turn your fingertips down, and then twist open to the left. So right hand twisting to the left. Another one you can do to massage your forearms. Another one you can do to massage the forearms is a malasana squat forearm massage. So bringing your hands right behind the calves and coming into a malasana here, right behind the kneecaps. You can get a nice tight squeeze. And massage your forearms that way. Another way you can massage your forearms is to bring the forearm to the earth and then use your knee. Opposite knee, opposite forearm. Another stretch that can get into the palm of the hand is to bring the fingertips towards you in a kneeling position, and from here bending the elbow, and you can lift the palm up off the floor, keeping the thumb and the fingers down. If you are more advanced at yoga, this one can be fairly intense, so use it at your own discretion, bringing the palms towards you, hanging out here on all fours. And if you bring your hips back, you feel nothing. From here, you can tuck the toes under and come into down dog from here with the fingertips towards you. There's even an arm balance where you bring the hands together. You come into an arm balance. It's not one I can demonstrate, but maybe you can find that on the internet. I think that's everything I can say about the wrists and the forearms. I hope this helps you to stay consistent in your practice. Don't let your ego make you feel like you can't do yoga just because you're not having the wrists on the floor. If you need to use elevation or props, you need to be on your forearms. It's all okay. So you'll still gain benefit from the practice, and it's not about how the practice looks on your body, it's about how it feels in your body. So that's the most important thing. Thank you for watching, and namaste.